Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the Jeffrey Vincent Parise Q&A live session. How y'all doing? All right. Look at this. Got to put them on. Well, here we are. Whew. Does everyone have a comfortable seat? Do you have your drinks, your libations, your snacks? Because we're going to be here for 45 minutes, answering questions, laughing, delving into the past, and perhaps the future. Welcome to my home. This has been, when I moved here, I guess about a few months before this whole thing went down. And the goal was to get it to be like the bunker in V for Vendetta. Plus some windows, though. I always just admired all the books and the art and the instruments and all the things that man had to keep him busy down there in that bunker. And I feel like I was able to do it because it has been quite a cultural and learning experience. That's for damn sure. For about the first month, I had a friend staying with me in my spare room, and he left for Florida, or for Hawaii. And so for the past 2 months, or longer now, who knows time anymore, I've been solo. So that's been interesting. Learned a lot about myself. Okay, now, you want to learn a lot about me? Then here we go with some questions. Let's start some questions. Here we go. Okay, let's see. Monzi asks, if you could have changed Asmodeus' story in any way, would you have? And yes, how so? Well, Monty, first thing I would have done is to kept him on until the very bitter end. The series finale would have ended with a massive battle between Asmodeus and all the good guys. Yeah. I think that, a lot of people have asked, is there anything I would have changed about Asmodeus? Was I happy with the storyline and all that stuff? Two-part question. A, yes, I was very happy to have been in the storyline at all. I thought he was one of the coolest characters I've ever got to play, and the most enjoyable characters I ever got to play, because I was able to, live out some real dark fantasies, particularly looking Satan in the eye and going, flicking him away. That was fun. Actually, I did this. That's interesting. So that's A. B, I really, because I loved playing him so much, I would have loved to see them flesh him out a little bit more. Let's see where he came from. He was one of 7 princes of hell. And, by the way, all the 7 princes of hell, each one of them stand for one of the 7 deadly sins. And Asmodeus was lust. So I think we could have delved a little further into that. But hey, maybe that's for another series. Which brings me to another question. Let's see here. Let me go. Let's see. Sorry, I'm suddenly feel like my parents working a computer. Let's see. Oh, it says, which sin did you cut out? Oh, now I'm on the live feed. I'm switching back and forth from questions to the live feed. So the sin that Asmodeus represented was lust. So, lust. In case you didn't hear that. Yeah. Let's see. Let me go over to, excuse me, let me just work my computer here. Let me work the tickety box and make sure, jeez, close that out. Yeah, sorry. Close all these windows out first. Second question. We're on the second question. I'm trying to work my computer. Oh, jeez, hang on. Okay. Let's do this. Hang on. This is embarrassing. Let's go to questions. Here we go. New window. Okay. Here's another question. Oh, hi. This is from Samantha Beaton. Samantha Beaton Alsam. Hi, I've seen a few of your videos, like Her and Gift, and was wondering how much filming you do and how much time you spend editing the video. And then she says, how do you actually do it? Can you explain your process a little? Love the videos and record similar videos, so I'm curious as to how you go about it. Okay. Here we go. I'm back. So these videos she's talking about, if you guys have seen, over this, I always make little shorts anyway. I've made little documentary short films, but during this quarantine, I've made little poetry films. And the one started out with Her, which was, I had actually shot it a couple of years ago, and I was never happy with it. I was never happy with the narration. I did some weird stuff with my voice, and I layered it, and the music wasn't mine. And I thought, I'd always said to myself, if I ever had time, I'd maybe go back and rework it. So I had time. And so that was the first one I worked on, and I redid the narration, and my friend who I was mentioning earlier who was staying with me, he's a musician, and I play instruments as well, and so we together made a song for the short, and then I redid and then I just put the narration over the video I had already shot with the new song. And if you haven't seen it, it's only 2 minutes long. Why don't we show it? It's called Her.
When I see her again, no time has passed. She's ageless. I become ageless. She's had the same look for millions of years, yet her beauty surprises me every time. I'm rising up, falling away, rising up, falling away, rising up, falling away. Rising up, falling away. She washes out old thought, fills me with new thought. never without her. She is always within. She proves it to me when I taste my tears. We are never separated, no matter what they say. I am always on her side. To betray her would be to betray myself. She remembers this man as a boy. She reminds him what it is to be inspired. To inspire. I am made from particles of her. I will always love her until I return to her.
So that was obviously a love letter to Mother Nature. And I'm seeing some questions about like creativity and process, and the person who originally asked about this was asking about the process. And that's one of the things. It's like it's only over when you say it's over. So like I had said, I had already did another version of this a couple years ago, but there's no rules to this. So like, if you don't like it, you can still work on it, or you just put it away and go on to the next one. Like, so then that then inspired me to make a couple little more, and I wanted to do them just quick little, almost thoughts. And the next one came because my friend Ryan Peavy from General Hospital, if you guys are General Hospital fans out there, you know who he is. We've remained friends since then, solid dude. And he is an incredible photographer. And he had been taking these really amazing videos, and he called them his isolation series. And I thought about what this was the early stages of the pandemic. And I kept thinking, like, what is this? What are we doing here in this isolation? So I asked if I could use a few of his videos to make another one. And then this one, I was in isolation. My friend had left. And so I made the music for this one myself. And like I said, Ryan shot the video, and I just chose a few of them that matched this and came up with this next one, which is called Isolation.
Isolation. So late. Better late than never, she said. I've been expecting you. All of you. It's time. Lucky for you, I believe in second chances. Use it wisely. If you get one.
So that one for me was, it's, if you get one, it's like there's so many people that aren't going to get a second chance after this. It's tragic. The films are like a meditation. And and in fact, I think a lot of them, I think them up while I'm in meditation, which I've been doing every day since this quarantine started. And that's something I'm grateful for this quarantine, is my yoga and meditation practice have deepened tremendously as a lot of time. Okay, let's get into another question. Sort of along the same lines. Bozy asks, how did you get into poetry? You inspired me into writing again. That's awesome. That's really cool. I think somewhere along the line we all, I think, try and, we're trying to figure out what we're doing here, what our purpose is, what our intentions are on this planet. And one of my intentions is to inspire. So when I hear that, it's like, it feels really good to me, because that's one of my self-inflicted purposes. I originally got into poetry in my early 20s when I first moved to LA and I was working on this short film. Poetry for me was always, I came from Indiana. I was just like a kid running around in the woods, and not really not raised on poetry or anything like that, other than like Dr. Seuss, which I respect. But for me, it was like, I always associated it with more like Shakespeare or things that were over my head and that I just couldn't understand. And then I did this short film, and it was done in a way that you really don't and shouldn't. Well, you really don't do short films like this. This director was very ambitious and a little crazy, and he was trying to do the model that Mike Leigh, the English filmmaker, did with his movies, and which is, you get a group of actors together, you get the subjects, and through a series of improvisations, months, you come up with the script based off these improvisations. And the subject that we chose was homelessness. And so for 2 months, this group of actors, the producer was a real estate agent, and he had an empty house that he was trying to sell. We used that house as sort of our squat house. And we would go and we'd do the improvs in that house. Everybody would sleep in that house, and then at night we would go and panhandle. And it was a very immersive experience. And at the time, my early 20s, I was pretty broke, so not very far from the reality of things, other than I have a strong family that would not let me go homeless at that time, or now. But my character was a street poet, and I had been introduced to Charles Bukowski right before I had started this film. And for those of you who don't know who Charles Bukowski is, he's my favorite poet, because it's lowbrow, down and dirty, gambling, whores, fights, drinking, lots of drinking. And at the time, all that stuff really spoke to me. And he does it. His poetry is written in such a way that's so easily digestible. And I started writing poetry at that time, and my character's name was Roach. And I had put a roach in a jar and had it as my pet throughout this filming, and that worked its way into the film. Well, one night, we were all sleeping, all in the same room, in sleeping bags and stuff, and I would always read Charles Bukowski to everyone before we went to bed by candlelight. And that night in particular, it was a hot night, and I had put a piece of caramel in my roach jar to give him as a treat. And I read this short story from Charles Bukowski, and the way I was laying, there's really weird voice coming out of that I'd never really spoken like before. And everybody was like, wow, that was pretty intense. Good story, good short story that I read. Then we all went to sleep. The next morning I woke up and I looked over at my roach, and it was so hot the caramel had melted, and my roach got caught in it and died. And just then, someone else comes running up the stairs, when there was still newspaper and no internet. Had the newspaper in his hand. He said, "Hey, did you hear? Charles Bukowski died last night. True story. And that inspired me to write Ode to a Roach. And some of you have heard this at other conventions, but I'll recite it for everyone who hasn't heard it. This was one of my first poems, Ode to a Roach. I'm the first one to come and the last one to leave. I've seen the changes take place, yet I've seen things leave without a trace. I won't alter my existence to make up for your mistakes. I'm the one who gives. You're the one who takes. I keep it all quite simple so I can prove to you it's not always what you say. It's also what you do. You always try and kill me, and sometimes you succeed. But I'll always come back, for I am what you. Without me, there is still hatred, and you'll need something else to kill. But as long as I am here, I'll gladly quit your will. So until you stop to help me in this lesson to be taught, there will still be wars, not won, but just plain fought. Fights are never won if both sides both think they're right. That's when that very issue becomes the center of the fight. So, when you can live comfortably when I am in your presence, I will too. Will say, you knew. That's when heaven becomes our residence. There you go. All right, next question. Okay, let me see here. Wow, a lot of really cool. Okay, so this is weird. That's funny. All right, in the middle of a short improv, we have one more dish. Okay, we'll get to another question. If you could give, this is from JT Supernatural Fan, if you could give Asmodeus a supernatural pet, would it be a hellhound or something else? What would you name it? It would probably be the Shadeen that he was trying to free and rule all of existence. Yeah. Let's see. Somebody asked about the, let me go back up to that one. The fox painting. That is actually from one of that. So that fox painting actually have this one here. It's been sold, the original, but it's now a print. And I originally did this one because I was feeling low that day. I was feeling pretty blue. And I wanted to do something that would cheer me up, and creating always does that. And creating something happy will have that effect. So I did this. In fact, like I said, that's one of my prints. Well, we'll get to prints now because I guess this is the tip system. The biggest tipper gets a Zoom session and a free print. This one right here that I'm holding. This one is called Of the Earth Who Seek the Skies. But I have 4 prints available if anybody's interested. I think we have photos of them too. But I can also show you how big they are in scale of this one. And then there's a bigger version of the owl. And then there's this one. Somebody also asked me if I've been painting during quarantine. Yes, I have. And it's been a real lifesaver. Yeah, it's something that gives me purpose in the morning to get up and go into the studio and create something. I think that so many of us, and me included, when I'm not working on something and I'm trying to think what's going to be my next painting or what's going to be my next project, there's this it's a fear that builds up of starting something and then maybe failing and trying to get it right. But there, like I said earlier, there's no rules to this. Like, just it's the act of creating. Personally, for me, and I think it applies for a lot of people, that's why you see so much of it, is the same feeling you get when you're in love. You're giving of yourself, and you're expressing yourself, and you feel lit up and alive, and there's possibility, and there is the possibility of you maybe having it not go the way you wanted it to go. But the most important thing, just like with love, is just to do it, just to start. Especially with something creative. That first line is always the hardest. That first stroke of the paint to canvas is always the hardest, but then you've begun. And if you can get the idea out of your head that it has to be right, it has to be a certain way, then you can make some real art. Then you're open to mistakes, beautiful mistakes. And most of the times, those beautiful mistakes are going to be the next thing that gets you to your next creative level. You want to see some of the, I think I've done 4, actually now 5, but I have photos of 4 lined up for you guys to see of the paintings that I've been doing while in quarantine. This one's called Bleeding Heart, and it's big. It's a big one. It's like, and I spent a lot of time on this one. I loved it. It was, it's a gelada. Well, a lot of people thought they were bamboos, but it turns out they're primate all on their own. Okay, and then this one I did for a friend of mine. She's my manager actually, and we talk a lot about art, and we were in the early stages of quarantine, and I wanted to create something to make myself happy, and I wanted to create something for someone to make her happy. So I gave that to her, and she had just redone her place, and that goes with her place really well. So. And she loves rhinoceroses. Oh yeah, this guy, Bovine Hipster. I took a picture of him while I was in New Zealand and came home and painted it. That's another little short film that I did called Gift. We don't have that lined up, but you can go on my Vimeo page and watch that. That's from, I did a whole thing in New Zealand, and you'll see this guy in the film. I took a ton of photos of really cool animals and been meaning to paint a bunch of them. And then I think the next one is also of, these two. I met these two in New Zealand also, and took their photo and came home and painted them. A llama and an alpaca. And you can tell them apart because the llama's ears are longer, like, llama, banana, alpaca. So that's what I've been working on. And all those fine strokes have been keeping me busy and inspired. Cool. All right, let's go to another question. From Brittany. Or no. This is from Alina 880. What have you learned about yourself during quarantine? Good question. I think it's one we should all ask ourselves.
What are you doing?
I learned, I still got work to do. I've done a lot of self-exploration and transformative work, if you will, through educations, through plant medicines, through meditations. And it's just this unending onion that keeps being peeled, layer after layer after layer after layer, to just try and reveal the I think the highest workable version of yourself. And so many people say it. It's like, if you could just be a better version of who you were yesterday, then you're on the right track. But especially during the early parts, I was like, I got this. This is great. It's like a spiritual art retreat. I can do this forever. And then, of course, especially in solitude, sometimes the walls come crashing in, and you got to deal with the dark corners that you haven't really looked at yet. and yeah, and you know, as far as what to do, as far as what I'm doing about them, I think the first part is to just recognize them and see why it's uncomfortable to look in those corners, and should they either A, be swept away, or B, be revealed and embraced. So yeah, I mean a lot about myself in quarantine. Also learning that I can just sit in front of a camera and talk for half an hour straight. This is the most talking I've done in days. All right, let's see here. How would you describe, this is from Beautiful Swan, how would you describe the difference in working on Supernatural as opposed to working on soap operas? Question. Soap operas, so for those of you who don't know, I was on General Hospital for 3.5 years, and then I did a nice run on Young and the Restless recently. I'll speak on the General Hospital stuff. That character, Carlos, he was one of my very favorite characters to play, and the reason why was I never had an experience like that where I was able to play a character that consistently for that long, 3.5 years. I've never been a contract series regular. That wasn't even contract. That was episode to episode. It was apparently it was supposed to be 2 months. It went on for 3.5 years, and a bunch of incarnations later. But I did really find just new things about him all the time. It was like when writers write for a character that's on the air for years, I think the character itself becomes more human, especially if it's on every day. Mine wasn't every single day, but you understand. You find the places in between where it's not so hyper dramatic, where it's not like a soap opera. It's not operatic. It's just life, and you get to breathe in those spaces. And that's why I think he was such a complex character, because he was a gangster and he did kill people, but he also wanted love. He wanted to be accepted. He wanted to have a family. He wanted to, he just wanted to be loved by Sabrina. And I think that's another character. Somebody I think asked about, am I happy with where the characters went, and could have gone in a different direction? Again, yes, because it's just so great to be on a show and being able to act and all that stuff. So yes. But then, if I had any input to the writing, I think Carlos could have been fleshed out a lot more too. I think that he could have tried to run his own crime family, and I think that could have caused a lot of contention in Port Charles, whether he ends up teaming up with Sonny or Julian, who knows. But for whatever reason, they decided that he would die twice. And then his brother would come, and then that just sort of faded away. That was one where, I think they could have fleshed that character a little more, but I understood. I think they wanted me to, they wanted me not to be a twin, but to be an older brother, and so that would require shaving and cutting my hair off. And I wasn't under contract, and I had other offers lined up, and so when I didn't shave and cut the hair, I think they just took that as like, all right, this character's done. And then I went on to do Carlos Camacho on the Detour, where I didn't have to shave and cut my hair. So I went from Carlos to Joe to Carlos. And somebody had asked earlier if I had done any comedy, and yeah, the Detour is definitely comedy and definitely hysterical. If you haven't seen it, it's a hidden gem that was on TBS. Season 1's incredible. I show up in season 2. It was so much fun, and I would love to do another comedy. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go over to the live feed. Which ones of your paintings are you most proud of? That's from Jonky Wow. At the moment, I'm most proud of the open heart, or the bleeding heart one that I did, that I showed you earlier, the Gelada Baboon. At the moment, yeah. Yes, and this is another one. This one. It hangs above my bed. And it's big. The original is really big. It's like 4 foot by 2 foot. When I started painting, I'm self-taught. So when I started painting, they didn't look like what I saw in my head or what I would like them to look like at first. But I just kept going and just kept going and just keep painting. And it's trial and error. And then when I finally was able to start lining up what was in my head to what turned out on canvas, it was real. Those days were really special. And this was one of those examples. This was one of the examples. When I finished that, I think the day after, I came down to my studio and looked at it, and I couldn't believe I had painted it, and I hadn't had that feeling, and I just didn't know where it came from. Like, how did I all of a sudden go from painting these sort of remedial paintings to being able to do something with such detail and such a skill set? And it's just a matter of keeping it in existence. And again, if anyone is looking for any sort of creative inspiration, and I think that's it. It's just keep doing it. You're not gonna be as good as you think you are or should be when you first start. But that's the very definition of what talent is. You have to practice it. It's like a muscle of any kind. Some people have natural abilities for sure, but if you wanted to go beyond those natural abilities and go to the mystical and go to places where you can't believe that you've achieved, you got to just keep doing it. You're going to surprise yourself. You're going to continue, and there's probably going to be some disappointments in there as well, but that's part of it. It's just like life. Just keep doing it would be my advice. Let's see. Clarabelle asks, was it fun beating up David Hayden Jones as Asmodeus? Yes, it was. Yes, not because it was David Hayden Jones, but because that's like every little boy's dream, is to get into the movies or a TV show and be able to pick somebody up over their head and slam them down. Yes, but on top of that, the day itself was amazing because David Hayden Jones is such an incredible actor, and we worked so well together. And that's why we remain friends to this day. That we just had this connection as actors. That there were times that he would say things like, what do you need from me to feel more powerful in this scene? That's egoless acting, and I love it. Okay, let's see. Oh, Esther Viola asks, what are your favorite painters? Which painters inspires you the most? My very favorite painter of all time is Egon Schiele. He was a German expressionist painter back in Vienna. He died in 1918 of Spanish influenza at age 28. Incredible painter. Sexy, raw paintings and drawings. Inspired me tremendously. In fact, I wrote a script about him many years ago. And Lucian Freud is another one who's he died at like 83, and that's the type of longevity and talent life I hope to have as well. He painted until he died, and he just kept getting better and better and better and better and better and better, and his body of work was just phenomenal. We only have a few minutes left here. Gosh, I hope you guys had a great time. I'm going to go over to the live feed and see who's still here. Love the videos, thank you. Where did this film, Northern Cali? Yes. What got you acting? What you want to act? Yeah, so let's see. Go down to. Okay. Oh my, Rebecca says, "Oh my gosh, can you preach this to my students?" Oh, that's nice. I don't know what part, but there's one project that I did that I encourage artists and students to copy, and it's another documentary I did called "That Doesn't Look Like Me." And I took a group of my artist friends into a local nursing home, and we asked who wanted to participate, and they all put their names in a hat, and we drew their names out of a hat, and whoever you drew, that's who you painted. And in this documentary, I went around while my friends were painting everyone and asked them questions about life and love and art, and we got to know them. And then we had a show at their home 3 weeks later and had them invite their friends and family, and it was just a wonderful thing. And it's something anybody can do, like if you want to do it, photographs or paintings, but let's get a group of people together and go and spend some time with our elderly and hear some awesome stories and give them some much needed and much deserved attention. 2 minutes left. Someone who asked what got me into acting. I think it was I started in high school because I was looking for something to do with my life, and thank God it found me, because it's been the catalyst to all this other stuff that's happened in my life. The music, the painting, everything, the poetry, everything. A lot of the traveling that I've been able to do has been through this one craft that chose me, I feel, and that I, again, didn't give up on. I think when I started, I thought I was a lot better than I really was. And I probably still think that because, but I kept at it. And, you just keep going and refining, and you never, when I did realize, no, I'm not as good as I think I am, it was a big blow for my young ego back then. But it was also the best thing that could have happened to me, because it humbled me and made me go, I've got to dig in and learn more about this craft that I have chosen to make my career of. So that's why I really like to get deep into characters and alter voices and alter the way I speak or I walk and move and think even. So, and again, that acting is what opened up my world in ways that I couldn't have even dreamed of growing up in Indiana. All right, I think that is about it. So, wow, I wish I could, this has been, it's been great to read the questions, but, I really wish I could have seen you all, because that is one thing I do miss about this whole quarantine is people. My dear friend who died a couple of years ago at 102, he would say your life is only as good as the people in it. And that's true. And that goes for the people that are your family and friends, but it also goes for you guys. Like when I go to these conventions, that's why I go, is to be able to come face to face with people and have wonderful conversations, and we all can make each other happy so easily just by connecting on this TV show. It's amazing. I hope you all are well, and I hope this was fun for you. And thank you very much. And I'm sending a lot of love to every one of you. And stay creative in whatever you do, and stay sane.